When you're on the ship, your cruise cabin is your home away from home. It's a place for you to relax, take in a beautiful view, and generally enjoy yourself. It's your refuge away from the rest of the ship. But cabins on the ship have some unique characteristics that make them different from any other place you might stay. With that in mind, here are more than 20 tips, hacks, and things to know for your cabin before you get on the cruise ship. Cruises come in all sorts of lengths, but two of the popular lengths are those that are short, around 3 to 5 days, and then trips that are for a full week. If you're not sure whether to spend more and get the balcony or suite, or to spend less and go with an interior room, I have a suggestion. On shorter trips, I say save the money and go with the lower price cabin. When you're on the ship for just a few days, you'll likely spend more time out and about, including by the pool and in port. But on week-long trips or longer, it's a good idea to splurge and get a nicer room. In this case, having a balcony will offer a sanctuary for when you need some time to recharge or just have some downtime on a longer cruise. Want to dine away from crowds? You can order room service on the ship or simply grab a dish from the buffet and take it back to your room. It's a great way to dine without having a lot of other people around. Before you do, however, consider what you're eating. In interior or ocean view cabins, there's no way to get fresh air into the room. That means any food you bring in will have a lingering smell. So, a plate of eggs, you could be reminded of that meal well after you've eaten it. This isn't as big an issue on balcony cabins or suites as they have access to fresh air, but be aware of it in other rooms. An open balcony door can create a wind tunnel effect when you open the front door of the cabin. If you have a balcony cabin, one of the big benefits is having access to fresh air. Many people choose to leave the door open to let in a breeze, hear the ocean, or generally just enjoy the atmosphere of the sea. If you do this, you need to be aware of the wind tunnel that can be created should you open the balcony door and the front door of the cabin at the same time. If conditions are right, instantly a huge gust can move through the room, creating all sorts of chaos, blowing things off tables, and potentially slamming doors closed with the wind. Instead, just have one door at a time open and you don't have to worry about anything. On a cruise, you're going to have wet clothes and wet towels. It's just a fact of life on the ship. The tempting thing to do is to hang them out on the balcony railing to let them dry versus hanging them in the cabin. But you'll be warned against hanging clothes on the balcony, and it's not a good idea anyway. It can get breezy on the ship, especially if it's underway. All it takes is one gust of wind and your towels and swimsuits are taking a ride down to the ocean, never to be seen again. Instead, cabins come with a small clothesline in the bathroom, or you can bring magnetic hooks to dry things. One tip for selecting your cabin is to look at the upper decks of the ship. It's usually the most convenient location to sail. The way that cruise ships are designed, there's usually an inner public area in the middle of the vessel with things like the casino, the shops, restaurants, and more. This area, it's normally around decks 6 through 8. Then there are the pool and outdoor decks at the top of the ship. Getting a cabin between these two areas is ideal. Given that they are the two spots where you'll spend the most time, it makes sense to be in between them. That way, you can take the stairs, which are much faster than the elevator, or you simply don't have to go as far. The good news is that cruise cabins are fairly well insulated to where you don't hear much from the adjoining rooms within reason. The same can't be said for the cabin doors. When people pass through the hallway outside the door, you can hear them well. It's not a big deal most of the time, but if it's 2 a.m. and a loud group is coming back from the bar, that can definitely wake you up. That's why it's smart to find rooms toward the end of the hall instead of in the middle of the ship. In these locations, there's much less foot traffic, meaning there's less of a chance of a passerby in the hallway disturbing the peace and quiet of your room, especially in the middle of the night. Staying in a room as a couple, then you'll want a single large bed in the cabin. But if you're cruising with a friend, you likely don't want to actually sleep in the same bed. When you check in online ahead of your cruise, you'll normally be asked how you want the bed set up. If you arrive and the beds aren't how you wanted, don't worry. It doesn't mean you'll have to sleep in the same bed as your friend or sleep apart from your spouse. Simply ask the room steward and they can put the beds how you want them. Unlike a hotel room, the beds can adjust based on what you want. Now, people don't go on a cruise to watch TV, but when you just want some chill out time, there is little that's better than hanging out in a cool cabin watching the tube. Unfortunately, there isn't that much to watch. TV channels are limited as you might expect when you're in the middle of the sea. There are typically a couple of movie channels, some news stations, and a few other things to watch, but most channels are related to the cruise. This includes shopping channels, safety information, and replays of events happening on board. Now, unless you're lucky enough to pony up for a huge suite, the first thing you'll notice about your cabin is that it's pretty small. Most are around 160 to 200 square feet. For a cruise with a couple of people, it's certainly sufficient space, but you need to do yourself some favors. The biggest is to unpack your bags and put away your suitcases on the first day. Cabins have a lot of storage space, so you'll have plenty of room for your things. Putting them away right off the bat means you won't be tripping over bulky suitcases as you try to get around the cabin where space is at a premium. As I said, cruise cabins are small, but they do make good use of the space they have. Case in point is that a cruise cabin bed is normally raised with space underneath them. This area is perfect for storing empty suitcases. They slide right under and are completely out of the way, freeing up floor or closet space where they would otherwise be stored. And you also don't have to worry about forgetting them because they're out of sight. After all, you're not going to get out the ship without your suitcase. Do you smoke or vape? It's not allowed in your cabin. That also includes the balcony area if you have one. Cruise lines have put big fees if you're caught smoking in the room. Instead, there are designated areas on the ship if you do need to light up. Not only are cruise lines cautious about keeping the room free from smelling like smoke for future guests, but the biggest fear on a cruise ship is fire. You'll notice that most things that produce heat or flame are prohibited. In the interest of safety, smoking in your cabin where an accidental fire could be an issue is not allowed. Cruise ship balconies, they can be romantic places. Your own little cozy private spot with a beautiful view, the person you love, and a drink in your hand. It simply doesn't get much better than that. Of course, that may give you the idea of getting a little frisky with your significant other. Or maybe the sunshine makes you want to lay out and get a suntan all over. Just know that balconies are private, but not completely private. There are dividers between each, but they leave some gaps between them. Sound can easily travel between two balconies, and if someone were to simply lean over, they could get a peek into your area. So when you go to a hotel, you usually don't get to select the room that you're given. On cruise ships, you can select your specific cabin, but just know it can be more expensive that way. While some people care a lot about where the room is located, others simply want to get on the ship. When you book, you're usually given the option to select a guarantee cabin. In this case, you select your room type, but the cruise selects the actual spot. In return, you can save a decent chunk of change on the room. But won't you just get stuck with a bottom floor cabin next to the elevator? It is possible, but in our experience, having a poor location has yet to happen. Okay, let's get real for a moment. In the course of a cruise, there may be times when you have to go. Packing some air freshener, it's a good idea, but it won't always do the trick. Having smells linger in an enclosed cabin isn't the best. As well, what if multiple people in the cabin need to go at once? That's why one tip is to scout out an out-of-the-way bathroom that can be used during these situations. Public bathrooms that are located in lower trafficked areas are usually empty. For example, you can look on lower decks at the ends of the ship. These provide you with some privacy and help keep your cabin that much more pleasant for everyone involved. I've already mentioned to you that cruise cabins are small on the ship, but they are also packed in tight. There might be hundreds of cabins on a single deck, and you can literally have another room on either side of yours, one above, one below, and one about 3 feet across the hall. In other words, no matter the time of day or night, there's likely someone nearby trying to nap or get ready for dinner, or simply just relaxing on their vacation. That's why it's nice to be considerate of your neighbors. Things like stomping in the cabin, playing loud music, or having loud conversations shouldn't be done. Think of the golden rule. If you wouldn't want people disturbing you in your room, then don't disturb them in theirs. Your cabin is a secure spot, but there's no reason to get lax. While you're out at the pool, you might leave your money, passport, or phone behind. Instead of just leaving them out in the open, be sure that you use that cabin safe. Every room you stay in will have a safe, usually located in the closet. Putting valuables in here keeps them more secure so you have less to worry about while you're out enjoying the ship or in port. So if you feel like a giant when you get in your cabin shower, you aren't alone. For many rooms, the shower area is just a couple of feet wide. Some are round and you can literally hit both sides at the same time if you just stick your elbows out. While space is tight, the good news is that shower heads are on flexible hoses so you can take them down to get the water exactly where you need instead of trying to position yourself just right in a tiny shower. You can save some space when you pack and leave that hair dryer at home. There's no reason to pack a bulky device and take up precious space in your luggage. Every cabin comes with a hair dryer, but it might not be where you think. Instead of finding the hair dryer in the cabin bathroom, it's often in the built-in console that houses the mini fridge and the TV set. To be sure, the hair dryer isn't super powerful. It's the typical small one that you find in a hotel, but it's plenty enough to get you through your cruise. Cabin stewards are there to make your stay much more comfortable. They typically come twice a day, once in the late morning and once in the early evening, to straighten the room, change out towels, and provide anything else you might need. With that in mind, be sure to put away anything you wouldn't want the room attendant to see. So if you pack something romantic for your cruise, or you snuck on some alcohol you shouldn't have brought, you might want to keep that out of sight unless you actually like having some awkwardness between everyone. Cruise cabins have everything you need, almost. There are some items I highly suggest you pack to make your life in the cabin more comfortable. First is an outlet adapter. Newer ships are better, but many older ships have limited outlet space, which is sometimes just a single plug. That's why bringing an outlet adapter is ideal. They plug into one spot and provide multiple outlets for all of your electronics. Just be sure to pack one that doesn't have a surge protector, as they aren't allowed on ships. The second item is a small fan. If you're staying in a balcony room, you have some access to a breeze, but cruise cabins don't have ceiling fans. Bringing on a small portable fan can give you some air circulation and also provide a little white noise while you sleep to drown out any sounds on the ship. Third is a nightlight. Now, I don't think you're scared of the dark, but if you were staying in an interior room, you might not realize how it can be pitch black at night. Even rooms with windows or balconies can get pretty dark with the curtains closed. A small nightlight, it can make it easier to see for those middle of the night bathroom trips. Cruise cabins typically line hallways that can stretch the entire length of the ship. That means for hundreds of feet, the decor, the carpet, and the nondescript doors can seem to simply repeat over and over. That means finding your cabin can be difficult, especially on the first couple of days of the cruise when you're still figuring out your way around. You'll see many people decorate their doors to help them stand out. If you don't want to do that, then just put a bright colored post-it note on the door. It will be enough to catch your eye in the sea of otherwise blank cabin doors. Have more tips for people sailing in their cabin? Let everyone know in the comments below. Also, be sure to like, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. And you can always check out more tips and videos on our channel for Cruisely.com.